Star Wars only. I don't know what the fuck your problem is.
Well, here we go. I saw Solo last night, the Han Solo movie. I hate the name, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've hated the name since it came out. It's just so weird to say Solo. Anyways, saw the movie, and, okay. I mean, that's all I could really say when I left the movie theater. I was like, okay. Yeah. You know, when I left Last Jedi, I was like, oh my god, that was horrible. Like, I was complaining for hours on end, because I was like, god, this movie was horrible. I left Rogue One, and I was like, yeah, that was pretty cool. I left The Force Awakens, and I was like, yeah, it's alright. And that's kind of how I left this one. It's okay. It's not amazing, it's not bad, it's okay. So, let's get into the movie itself. I'm not going to do any spoilers because I don't like doing that to people if you haven't seen it yet. I will make a follow-up video, hopefully momentarily, on the spoiler version. But let's get into the non-spoiler part. The only thing I'll even talk about is just kind of the context and the plot of the movie that you already know. It starts off a little weird for me. The first 10 to 20 minutes is on their home world and everything. You're introduced to the characters that you're going to meet throughout the film. And, it does feel like it goes in a different direction than the later parts of the film. So it's for me, it seems like the first 20% of the movie was the first two directors, and the last 80% was all Ron Howard, and, you know, he edited a little stuff in the beginning, because the title of the movie, when it kind of pops up, you know how, like, they show, like, oh, Rogue One and everything, like, they do that for the movies. Well, when that showed up in this movie, I was like, that looks kind of weird for a Star Wars movie. And then, also, the entire setting on the first planet was kind of off for me. Everything felt weird and gritty, and I was like, oh, this is kind of ugly, honestly. But then it kind of picked up. Let's talk about what happens here, like, in terms of what I like, what I don't like. Alden as Han, a lot of people were saying that he was actually a really good Han Solo. I don't see it. I think he's an okay character. His character was Han Solo, it just didn't feel like Han Solo to me, but it felt like a good character. His acting wasn't that great, it wasn't the worst in the world. He's not a very popular actor, so it was a good pick to kind of keep someone unknown, but overall, his acting wasn't amazing. I was actually a little bit disappointed with the Donald Glover's Lando. There's a lot of scenes where he is a perfect Lando, where he talks like Lando, he acts like Lando, and he flirts like Lando, but then there's also other scenes where he's just kind of the tone, you know, I'm not gonna say Lando has an accent, but the way he mimics Lando's voice is good, and then it gets kind of bad sometimes. You're like, oh, what was that? So that has its touch and go moments that I didn't mind too much. Lando's droid L3 really annoyed me. The whole pansexual Lando part, that you only hinted at that like maybe twice, where they talk about Lando flirting with L3 the droid, and then Lando flirting with Han Solo. I mean, that's literally one of the lines, or like, stop flirting. And it's kind of like, okay, I mean, I knew going into the movie they weren't going to put that big of a risk on these things. The story itself is simple. Nothing was new. That was one of my bigger problems, that there was nothing new to this film. There was nothing, the plot was generic, the story wasn't much of a story as it, you know, you would think it is. It has a very generic, well, Han Solo is a bad guy, but he's a good guy at heart. And I have a problem with that because it's like, well, I've seen A New Hope, and I know he's, you know, a thief with a heart of gold. I don't need you to explain that to me. Literally explain it. Like, in words, they explained it. And it was kind of like, alright. It does have some good characters. One thing I didn't like about Rogue One compared to this film is that Rogue One, while it had amazing action, probably some of the best action in the entire saga of Star Wars, it didn't have any characters that you really connected with or cared about. This film has some that you do and don't care about, but you care about a lot of these characters, not only because of one's Han Solo and Lando, but even Woody Harrelson's character. Like I said going in, he was going to be the one I'm looking forward to the most, and his ending kind of disappointed me. Towards the end of the film, he kind of just does stuff where you're like, oh, that didn't seem in character. But overall, he was a good character, and, you know, Woody Harrelson's a great actor, so I was really happy to see him do his thing, and I really liked him. Donald Glover, I didn't mind. The girl in the film, I can't remember her name, she was okay. I liked her character enough, it was decent. Not very memorable, but alright. They didn't have a good villain. There wasn't a single villain in there where I was like, oh, he's the main villain. Even if he was the main villain, the big shot gangster, he wasn't anything special. I can't even remember his name. Like, he was very forgettable. But still, the characters were solid. The characters are alright. The action was decent. It was pretty good. It is a general heist movie. One thing I liked is that they didn't do too much Marvel stuff where there's not a lot of one-punch line jokes. They might have tried it, I don't know, because the humor in this didn't land well for me. There's a lot of jokes in there that I was like, oh, was that a joke or was it not? Because it's not like a cheesy one-liner like you see in the Marvel movies or anything where it's just like, quick little joke, that's it. these are set up properly, but some of them just aren't executed right. There is tension in this movie, which is something that a lot of the past few Star Wars films have lacked, because there's a certain scene that I'm not going to spoil the movie or anything, but there's a certain scene where this big monster comes out, and I'm not going to lie, it terrified me. I wasn't like shitting my pants or anything, but I was like, wow, this is pretty scary looking, and I would hate to be in this situation. And so that was scary for me. I was like, wow, that's tension right there. That's good tension. I like this. So there's cool stuff like that. There's a secret cameo that comes out at the end that was a really cheap move in my opinion, because that character, if you're a casual fan, you're like, hasn't he or hasn't they been like gone for a while? Like, come on, like. So that one was weird for a casual fan. If you kept up with Star Wars comics and shows and everything, you'll know exactly how that character came to be and how that character is doing her thing. And you know, it's interesting. So when I saw that character come on screen, I was like, alright. And I don't want to ruin it for you. That's why I've been saying he and she, so I kind of, you know, throw you off a little bit. But still, if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil that part for you. But there's a big cameo at the end where you're just kind of like, oh, like, if you're a blind fanboy, you're going to love it. Because I heard guys in the back clapping. They're like, oh my god, it's that character. And I'm like, okay. And, like, it wasn't that big of a deal. It was more of like one of those things where it's like, what they do in this film is a common thing that they did with Rogue One and The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, is they use things that were already built in previous Star Wars films to make their film better. I had a big problem with that, and that got really annoying really fast. But overall, let's be honest, there's a lot of good parts in this film. A lot of good parts. There's a lot of bad parts. The music was not good. There was a part where like these pirates showed up, and it sounded like children were screaming in the background, but that was the music, and it completely took me out of the movie. I was like, what is going on here? Like, I was looking around, I was like, is someone playing music? Because this is horrible. And so the music was really bad. The pirates at the end are, you know, interesting, I guess. There's a certain character who has a mask throughout the film, and when they take off their mask, I realize it's like a child, and I'm like, this is annoying already. This child makes me want to punch her in the face because she's, like, irking to look at. And then, whatchamacallit. Then at the end of the film, someone says something along the lines of, we're starting a rebellion, and I wanted to kill myself so bad. I hate the whole rebellion thing. I'm tired of the generic, we're the rebellion versus the big guys, you know, give it to the big man, you know. I was so tired of that, and they brought it back. Like, this movie was doing fine, and then that came back. There's a lot of cringy moments in this film. Chewbacca is good. You get a lot more character on him than you ever have. It wasn't necessary, but it was alright. Entirely, this entire film was not necessary. There's a lot of enjoyable parts you can have in this film. There's also a lot of parts you're like, God, can you hurry up and end? Because it is 2 hours and 15 minutes, and the pacing is just off. You have some really good fast beat moments, and when it's going fast beat and it's just a constant little speed kind of thing, that's when the film is good. But when it wants to slow down and build the characters like you should, you're supposed to, when you have a film in general, it's not all supposed to be one pace, because it's going to feel like it's going to go too fast or it's going to be too long. And so when you have it where it's like, alright, this is a fast-paced scene, this is slow pace and everything, that's how you're supposed to do it, that's fine. But do it consistently where it makes sense, and don't slow down on every single emotional building moment. Sometimes you can build emotion throughout fast-pacing scenes, which, I don't know, Ron Howard did a good job with what he had. I assume if he would have gotten the film from the start, this would have been a lot better. But overall, the film is okay. I enjoyed a lot of parts of it. I wouldn't go see it again in theaters like I did The Last Jedi. I mean, I really just wouldn't. I don't want to. It's a film that really has no meaning to the saga, meaning to Star Wars. It is just a film. So if you want to go see this, go ahead. If you don't. You're not missing anything. I promise you that. And so I always, you know, I said my biggest thing was I'm going to give you whether you should or shouldn't see it. And the hard part about this film is that it's not that bad, but it's also not that good. It's a okay film. It's one of those films that you can watch and you're like, alright, whatever. And that's it. And so, honestly, if you're deciding on whether or not to go see this film, there's two questions I have to ask you. First question is, do you want more films like this? Do you want more Star Wars spin-off films where it's off a certain character, more Han Solo films, because this film did kind of not lead up to a sequel, but it showed it has potential for a sequel. If you want more films like that, you're going to need to go see this film, so they can make decent money, so they can see that there's a profit there, so they'll gamble next time and hopefully get better directors and not have so many slip-ups. If you want this stuff to stop, if you want Star Wars to stop making so many movies, slow down, give the fans what they actually want, then don't see this movie. Because honestly, no matter what, if you see it or don't see it, you're going to have the same result. You're going to come out going, okay. Yeah, I mean, it really, all the fans that are saying, oh my god, it's so good, I loved it and everything, blah, 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 everyone who's praising it out the ass, I'm gonna be honest, they're biased and they're blind fanboys. Because it really wasn't that good. It was better than Last Jedi. I will give it that. It might even be... Actually, I would say it's better than Attack of the Clones, too. Ooh, that one's pushing it. I don't know. It's not like it's horrible. Attack of the Clones is pretty bad. This movie just is... It is okay. That's the biggest problem I have with this film, is it's just okay. I can nag on it about a lot of things. There's a lot of characters who, you know, if someone had killed their friend or something like that, at the end they're like, whatever. And it's like, no, why would you be like that? It was like 2 days ago. Kill him. And so there's a lot of weird scenes like that where you question so much. But overall, it is an okay movie, and I hate saying that, but it just really is okay. So, if I had to give it a score, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Would I recommend seeing it? Nah, not really. You can see it if you want. If not, no big deal. It's real. You're not missing anything. I can't reiterate that enough, and I hate repeating myself on this, but it literally just is okay. It doesn't pass for a good movie, but it's also not a failure as a movie. You know, some people are gonna come out going, that was terrible. And it really wasn't. Like, I'm gonna put it like this. If they say they love it, and they say it's one of the better Star Wars films, they're lying to you, and they're just, you know, they're blind fanboys. But if they say they hated it, and it's a terrible movie, then they're just haters, and they're just trying to be an ass for no reason, and be edgy. It's just an okay film.